TikTok, it's time to rock, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Sunday show. We normally have three hosts here. Generally, it's three hosts, but we tried to slot someone in to come through and look after the hot seat for the Rock Professor. You guys know him as John ZD351, but he's busy constructing and building things in his backyard, Brad, which that's more important than hanging out with Brad and Andrew talking about rock music, bro, isn't it?
No, 100%. Way more important, Andrew. Way more.
Banging away. Bob the Builder. Look, I know what you Aussies are like. Aussies like three things. Cold beer, nice grass, nice green grass, front lawns, and sheds.
And sheds are very important in our culture, and that we consider them like man caves, Andrew.
Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Thank you for that lesson. Guys, the Rock Professor, he might be watching us. He may join us. He's flying back from his summer holiday. He's spent a couple of weeks in Spain, so he's flying. And we do wish him and his family a safe trip back to the UK. Brad and I do promise we will be on our, reasonably good behaviour, Brad. Reasonably good.
Well, while the cat's away, the mice play, Andrew. I've said it before, and we'll just continue to say it.
Yeah, we might pull a couple of clever jokes, maybe.
Some clickbait.
Good to see you, bro. We've got a couple of great things lined up for the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Brad has managed to get for us next week Zach Zedris, who is a musician, guitar player in his own right, and he's a Van Halen nut, so we're going to be talking to him. During the week, I'm going to be talking to a local guy, a Welsh guy called Mr. Glyn, who resides here in New Zealand, who's a pickup manufacturer. So we're going to hang out with him. And we have, I can't tell you who until we get the show card, but Brad knows we have an extra special guest lined up for next weekend as well. So if you guys are Van Halen nuts, you'll want to make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button, go to Brad's Instagram because he'll release something there. Brad's Instagram's on the bottom there, easy peasy, at Brad Cook Music. And he'll keep you in touch with that special guest that we've got next week who reached out and touched base with Brad and I and said, look, we want to come on and talk to you cats. And we went, no.
Hell yeah, why not? So, yeah, no, that's great. It's great awesome. That, we're getting people reaching out to us and wanting to come on. So that's so cool. We're extremely appreciative.
Absolutely. And we're just waiting for the Rock Professor, ladies and gentlemen, to come back next week because we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about our channel, the growth that it's got, because you guys who watch us, you guys who have been regular supporters of what Brad and I and the Rock Professor have been doing here, have been sharing our links. So I just wanted to go and just quickly have a look, bro, while we're talking about that. What are we on? We're on about 6. We're going to be pretty close to 6,500 subs. Hold on, bro.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're nearly 6,500 already. It's it seems like just last week we just hit 6,000, Andrew. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone that watches the show back. We're getting really good views on the content, which is fantastic. And the subscriptions just keep coming through, so we couldn't be more elated. Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, that's on the back of you know, a lot of the shows that we do. I'm just having a look here at some of the recent shows we did, like the Zoso show that we did with Alan Garber was posted on a couple of Led Zeppelin groups, and we picked up a lot of subs from there because people thought we were interested in entertaining. That show that we did with Jim, Vaughan, Brad, you know, some of those Van Halen guys who hadn't heard about us signed up and decided that they would hit the subscription button. So, and also that ZZ Top show that you and I did. I shared that on a lot of ZZ Top forums and groups, and we picked up, you know, a ton of subs from that. So it's pretty simple, guys. If you run a YouTube show, share your links or get someone to do it on related Facebook groups, and ask people to subscribe, and people genuinely will.
Yeah. No, it's working. Whatever, you know, formula that we seem to be doing, Andrew, seems to be working. And when people ask us, Andrew just tells them the truth, what he's doing, and he's sharing a hell of a lot of stuff on Facebook, and it's working. You know, we're getting the niche people in that like what we're doing, and thank you so much for everyone joining.
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. Absolutely. So, and Brad's got a couple of surprises lined up too for us too, ladies and gentlemen, as well. Some hardcore blues nuts as well, and so just you know, keep an eye on what we're doing here. We've got some great shows coming up for you guys that we're personally proud and happy to be in the mix and trying to work out. So thank you. Bro, I'm going to do a quick shout out before we start off the show. There's a couple of things, though, that we should talk about. We're a little bit late, ladies and gentlemen, so we normally talk about this kind of stuff beforehand. But I noticed Brad put a post on his Facebook, on his Instagram about Stevie Ray Vaughan. So Brad should tell us why today is an important date.
It's a very sad day for blues enthusiasts and people who love Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's 32 years ago today. He passed away in a tragic accident, helicopter accident. So very sad day. But in saying that, Andrew, that he left behind an amazing legacy and gave everyone hope that have gone through things of addiction and, things of like to the point where he came out the other side of things that were almost killing him. And he came out on top and showed everyone that he was playing even better than he'd ever played when he passed away, or the night that he passed away. Those gigs leading up to it, some of his best performances. So very sad, but he left behind an amazing gift, and he was an amazing spirit. And I think his spirit lives on in every blues musician, without a doubt.
Nice words, bro. Nice words. We are fans of Stevie Ray Vaughan on this channel. Brad and I have been fortunate enough to do about 3 or 4 shows, ladies and gentlemen, on this channel about Stevie Ray Vaughan. We were even lucky enough in our early days when Brad jumped on the channel to get Matt from Dropkick Blues. We did this wonderful show with him. So if you're watching this on playback, I'll attach those videos if you are Stevie Ray Vaughan nuts. We've got more Stevie Ray Vaughan shows coming up because Stevie Ray Vaughan, as Brad said, he's got a special place in our hearts and on this channel, bro. Nice words. 30 years this week. Clapton dropped Unplugged.
Yes, he did. That's makes me feel extremely old thinking about that. But 30 years and a groundbreaking album for Clapton, a very important album for Clapton, actually, very important.
It's one, again, ladies and gentlemen, that Brad and I have had the fortune to do with the Rock Professor. I think we did that over 2 shows. We realised the importance of that. And on reflection over the week, when I got this news and went back and had a look at some of the things that we spoke about on that channel, one of our best shows, bro. One of our best shows. What we prepared for on that show. So again, I'll attach that link somewhere on this video. But I thought it was interesting, bro, that Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan, because Clapton was on that same bill that Stevie Ray flew away from, and Clapton said, apparently, he was playing hot. Stevie was playing hot, bro.
Yeah. Yep. It was, apparently the night that he perished, everyone was standing side of the stage watching him, Clapton included, mesmerized and entranced in his energy and spirit that was up on stage. It was infectious. He was a non-stop blues enthusiast that lived and breathed blues music. I mean, he turned down being David Bowie's guitar player because, he wanted to be a blues musician and stay true to what he was doing. And, thankfully for all of us blues nuts, he gave us all the albums he did and all the live performances that have been captured. And we can, sit and imagine what it would be like to be, in an audience watching. And I'm sure there's a few people here that may have seen Stevie Ray Vaughan live. And I have to say I'm extremely jealous if you have, in a good way, of course, and happy for you, because I can only imagine the power that what you would have experienced on that performance. You watched the El Macombo show, for example, that we did with Matt from Dropkick Blues. That version of Texas Flood, he's never played that the same way ever again. He never played it that way before or after. That was amazing, and the power of what he's putting through to his guitar from his body, just no one like him ever. So what an amazing life that he led as a musician. His message was be kind to each other and give each other respect, but his message was blues music and pushing it to the forefront, and he didn't care about fads, what was going on musically. He just stuck true to what he believed in, and all I can say is, wow, he left us with a legacy, an amazing legacy.
Yeah, I missed out on an opportunity to see him. I was away on a rugby trip, and I had some friends that went and saw him. He came to New Zealand, I think, 3 times. So, and I've mentioned this before on our channel. I know guys that played with him at Raglan because he knew Midge Marsden. He was one of the guys that played the harmonica on that ad that we've played on this channel for Europa, and Yana, obviously, his partner at the time too, based here in New Zealand. So, a bit of a connection there with this part of the world. But, Brad's right. So we love Stevie Ray Vaughan, and we look forward to doing more shows. And, the Clapton, that Unplugged, one of our great shows, bro. If I can be humble enough or bold enough to say, it was one of the great shows that we did. I'm going to do a quick shout out, bro, before we kick the show off, because we got 9-10 people watching us. We do appreciate all the views we get. We know we're in a big world, and we get a lot of time zones watching us, and the messages that I get and that Brad gets and the Rock Professor that you guys send us individually about the fact that you like, the fact that you can play our videos in the background when you guys are working and carrying on, and informative, entertaining, a little bit funny. It's humbling. It's humbling to get that, because we keep saying it. Brad and I are just 2 ordinary, normal dudes, just hanging out, spending time with you guys. Yeah.
No, it's humbling. It's amazing.
And I'm going to say one thing too. Before we kick the show off, I was fortunate enough to see Brad play on Instagram Live Little Wing. not long after we hooked up. And if you haven't subscribed to Brad's YouTube and or his Instagram, go make sure you do, because you don't want to miss out any opportunities if you can when he hooks up and he plays live. That version of Little Wing that you played, bro. Wow.
Oh,
wow.
Thanks, Andrew. It's, I'm just another messenger doing my job in whatever large or small way it may be. Playing Little Wing, obviously, in my eyes, is Jimi Hendrix was the king. That's he's one of his epic masterpieces. But Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of it as well, like he made it his own. And to be honest with you, I'd be splitting hairs trying to pick which one I prefer. So I try and amalgamate the best I possibly can, their versions together, if that makes sense. But I think, as guitarists and guitar players coming up, and I think it's important to have your own style and identify, what your idols are doing or what your heroes are doing, but always play from your heart. And I think that's one thing that you can't say about Stevie Ray. Always played from his heart, and his version of Little Wing was very heartfelt. But thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you giving me that compliment, because my name anywhere near the same content as Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jimi Hendrix is amazing for me, because I never, see myself in the same vein. So.
No problem at all, bro, and I mean it. I remember everything. I'm going to do the beginning shout out, and I'm going to get Brad to do it at the end of the show. So hopefully the Rock Professor will grade us A++ in our efforts. Top of the chat, as usual, we've got Keith Campbell, and he's put a nice little comment in here. We have missed you, Keith. Sorry for missing the shows lately. Miss you all. I think that just sums up our community, Brad. We miss you too, bro, and the fact that you can jump in and add your opinions, bro, is fantastic. We do appreciate it, because Keith is, like a lot of us, an encyclopedia and an organic fan. Seen a lot of these cats and bands and acts live too, so we appreciate it, bro. Derek Clacton's in the chat too, bro, saying that he's going to catch and join us live. Again, another good friend of the channel. Really, really good comments that he leaves later on. He goes through and offers some really, really interesting comments.
Yes.
Just fantastic. And we've got a theory about who he is, and if you don't know our theory, hang around, Brad will tell you later. Nelson Rodriguez, good friend of the channel. Good to see you. Alan, another great friend of the channel who's been busy sharing our channel for a long, long time. Thank you, Alan. Gretch Zeppelin, the third winner of our famous T-shirt draws, bro. Our third winner. And if you guys want to go and see the video that he provided for us, it's on the channel here. Thank you, Gretch Zeppelin, for doing that. It's always good for a channel for people when they win things to do things like that, because the last thing we want to get accused of on our channel, ladies and gentlemen, is doing bogus competitions. It is an issue on other channels if you go and watch other channels, but one thing that Brad and I and the Rock Professor are going to do here with our draws is, they're going to be real. So thanks for that, Gretch. Oh my gosh, we've got Holly Lewis in the chat. Go and check out a show that we did with Holly Lewis and the Left Hand Lady. Fantastic. Got 1,000 views on that. Picked up some subscribers from that show too, Brad. So thank you, Holly and KJ, for doing that. Here he is, John ZD351, the guy building his man cave. Good to see you, bro. Come back and see us. I think we've got about it. I think that's it, bro. I think that's it. I'm going down. I'm going quickly, bro. We got Sabu Vidu saying, Brad, new name in the chat. Hey, Sabu Vidu.
Yeah.
What else is Sabu Vidu saying? Something else. Tim Thomas, another great friend of the channel. Good to see you, brother. Adam Roach. Good to see you, Adam. I'm not going to talk to Adam because he's a Tigers fan. Yeah.
Andrew, can you just give me 2 secs? I've got someone at my front door. Let's see who's there.
Problem. No
just
problem.
Give me 2 secs, all right?
No problem, bro. Cool. Guys, we're gonna take you on a little bit of a detour here. Adam Roach, Australian, great friend of the channel. Go and subscribe to Adam's channel too. He's doing some awesome stuff. We've got something planned with a couple of people in the chat around and with Adam. But Adam is an Australian rules fan like myself, even though I'm based here in New Zealand. He supports a team called the Tigers. I'm a Bombers fan, and my team and his team played last weekend, and we got what we call here in this part of the world a hiding. Yes, he does rock. That reminds me, guys, if you are watching a replay, go to our channels page. On the front of all YouTube channels, there's a menu there. And if you go to the channels page, all those channels there, you've got Brad and you've got Adam and everybody else that's friends with us is on there. Go and spend 2 minutes and go and subscribe to everybody on there. Has that pizza been delivered, has it, bro? Was it the... Is it the pizza?
No, it wasn't pizza, mate, unfortunately. But maybe pizza later tonight. Don't worry. It's pizza night tonight. So. Yeah.
Good to see you. That was quick. Bro, look, I suppose we should kick the show off. I'm going to do a little bit of an intro and I'm going to pass it over to Brad. My intro is really simple. If you guys are familiar with what we do here on this channel, the band that we're talking about is, beyond any stretch of the imagination, one of Brad's favourite artists in all their forms, all their permeations. So Brad's never going to miss an opportunity to pick this band.
Well, I've been sitting on my hands for this album, to be honest with you, because it's a live record, and you know we seem to always land on something. Oh, let's do this, let's do that. And I've been sitting on my hands for this one, and I knew the rock professor's not with us today, so I thought, you know what, that's a good, while the cat's away, the mice will play. I thought, let's do this one because I think personally it's an epic album and fantastic performances. So I think it's worthy that we talk about this one, Andrew. Awesome.
Okay. Do you want to offer a bit of an introduction on this album before we kick off, and then we can kick off with the tracks?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I mean, like for me, this record, I got into this particular record a bit later. I never really found a copy of it anywhere, Andrew, and this is before the days of YouTube, Spotify, streaming platforms. So I never found a copy of this one. And I don't know, it must have been in the early 2000s I managed to get my hands on the CD, whether it was re-released or what, I'm not sure, but or whether it was just I never saw it in a shop, and then I managed to find it. So I put it on. And obviously Burn and Stormbringer are massive, massive favourite albums of mine. Like, I love all Deep Purple. I love Machine Head. I love In Rock. I love Fireball. But I really have a close soft spot for the Coverdale, Glenn Hughes era of Deep Purple, just because I love Coverdale's voice. I love the songs they were writing and the way they played. They got a little bit funkier, and it's just something really unique and magical about this time for the band. So I remember the very first time I listened to this record, I was put the CD on in my car and I was driving along, and I was just like, it was like someone smacked me across the face with a bag full of bricks. It was like ferocious, It was loud. There was energy. There was built up angst and anger. You could hear it in the music. There was something going on with the band, obviously, at the time when they recorded this stuff. And I draw from, as musicians, you draw from all that stuff and put it into performance. And I can hear it in the performances. Every Richie Blackmore solo, he's playing delicately or whatever, but he's playing very exotically. But then when he hits hard, he's ferocious, and he's tearing, wallpaper off walls in the stadiums he's playing at. So that's why I felt like, this album needs to be done. Andrew, can you remember the first time you heard this record?
Oh, what a great question. I came to this album really, really late. I reckon I heard this album, it would have been the late 90s, bro. It would have been 98, 99.
Yeah.
And I think it was for the same reason that Brad had mentioned. CDs were slowly coming through. And some of the versions of CDs we were getting around that late 90s period weren't very good. They weren't recorded very well too, some of them. But I think Brad's hit the nail on the head. I think for a lot of Deep Purple fans, because it was the bridge between Stormbringer and Burn, is that correct? Or Burn and Stormbringer? There had to be something in it. And we all always have an appreciation of live albums. Now, in my research, without sort of taking away a little bit of what Brad's going to talk about, we don't really get too critical about the fact that albums have been re-engineered or remixed or recorded in the studio. That's the band's prerogative to do that, and they're doing that for one reason only, to give the experience to us as listeners something a little bit better, Brad. So I'm going to trust them in their judgment for what they're going to do. So we're not going to be critical about that. If you want to be in the chat, that's fine. But generally speaking, Brad and I and the Rock Professor see it as a good thing. You've got to take these guys on their own merit, Brad, when they do that. Do you want to talk about that? Is that something that you want to talk about a little bit now?
Well, there was some editing on this. It was mainly to do with overdubbing of crowd noise, from my understanding, and applause, and they looped certain tapes of crowd noise at the start and end of songs, and at the very end of the last song, Stormbringer, you can hear the applause keeps looping. So it's very obvious that they've done it if you're aware of it. But from my understanding, Andrew, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the live performance you're hearing is the band performing on stage.
Yeah.
They recorded with the Rolling Stones mobile studio, and they recorded all the stuff live. So as far as I'm concerned, wow, it's pretty amazing that a band sounds this good live. And if they want to put crowd noise in there, because the mobile studio, and just so people understand what they usually do when they mic a band up for recording, it's fairly close miking. They're miking up the guitar amp, they're miking up the bass amp, the drums. They're miking up like they're in a recording studio. Couple of overheads maybe to get the cymbals or the drums, but that they're not strategically placed to pick up the audience sound. So what that means is when they come to mixing it, you're hardly hearing any audience here, but you're hearing the band playing live. So to give it more of a live feel, they just dub in live audience, which they might have got from one of their own gigs or not, I'm not sure. But so it's obvious once you're aware of it. But as far as I'm concerned, there was no overdubbing of vocals. There was no overdubbing guitar parts, keyboard parts, drums, or bass. It's just what you're hearing, which is Deep Purple, the Mark III lineup. So when you look at it like that, you have to say one thing: the generation of musicians back in this era, back in the 70s and the 60s, they didn't really understand a live performance needing to be overdubbed. I know there was artists that did it, but especially a band like Deep Purple, their caliber was very high of musicianship. So I couldn't imagine them sitting back going, oh, we need to overdub all those parts again. They would have just picked the best version. And what I'll do is I'll just, I'll quickly go through. I've mocked up a few notes here, Andrew, so I'll go through them.
Sure.
So the recording was done in 1975 over 3 nights. April 4 in Austria, April 5 in Germany, and April 7 in France. So the majority of the material was from the Germany show in April the 5th. And then I don't know, maybe I'd have to look into a little bit more, but there was maybe one of the songs is from April 7 and April 5. But so it was, as I said, it was recorded with the Rolling Stones mobile studio. And pretty much through all of this, the lineup was Ritchie Blackmore, David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, John Lord, and Ian Pace. Yep. That's the Mark III lineup. So Ritchie Blackmore on guitar, David Coverdale on lead vocals. Glenn Hughes was the bass player, but also sang vocals and lead vocals. John Lord, Hammond player, keyboards, and Ian Pace was the amazing drummer. Pretty much all the material was recorded on their final dates before Ritchie Blackmore left Deep Purple for the first time. So it was released in October 76 after the band had already broken up. As I mentioned before, the album said to had some overdubbing of crowd noises and applause. And you can hear like a looped tape or something, especially like I said at the end of Stormbringer, you can hear that it's a repetitive cheer and the same whistle keeps coming up after a certain amount of clapping. So it's obvious is what I'm saying. And pretty much the last thing I want to bring up is all the songs featured on this recording are from the Burns album and Stormbringer only. They didn't touch Machine Head, even though they probably played Smoke on the Water and a few things. But they wanted to do live in Europe because the Mark II lineup had already done live in Japan, which was a massive success for the album. And I guess they wanted to show progression with the new singers, even though they broke up after this, pretty much.
Wonderful intro, as usual, from Brad, ladies and gentlemen. We're so lucky to have co-hosts that provide all the succinct information for you guys. Yep. But it's presented to you clearly from a guy who loves and cherishes the music that we talk about. I promise, Brad and I and the Rock Professor will do Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. We've got to do. We'll pick an album because it'll be interesting to talk about the significant changes between Deep Purple and what Ritchie went and did. So I look forward to that. We'll be doing that, bro, won't we?
100%. 100%. 100%. Ritchie, deserves more love. He gets a lot anyway, but I'm saying, as time goes on, I fear that, some of these greats will fade a little bit. They'll never be forgotten, but they'll fade, and I think Ritchie, in my opinion, is someone that in this era, in the 70s especially, was one of the most elite guitar players around. And I think his exotic playing, his scale, his note choice, something that a lot of players at that particular time weren't playing like that. So for me, he stands out amongst the crowd as being a little bit more of a I can't give you an example. It's just a higher caliber than most of the guitar players around. And to think of Andrew, to think that he was just really the majority of the time playing Marshall and a Stratocaster, pretty amazing,
Absolutely. And we can talk a little bit more about that. We've got some picks, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, to flick through. We've got a couple of people we're going to shout out before I ask Brad to kick off the rankings. L and M Guitar Corner. Please go and subscribe to those guys. They've got some great stuff going on their channel. And also Fruitcake Tony's in the chat. Good to see you, brother. Go and check him out as well. And look, I'm just going to present Brad. He hit the nail on the head. It's a Stratocaster and a Marshall amp. And that's pretty much what Brad's got behind there. That's it.
Yeah. I got the big headstock Strat. It's a 70 Strat. It's a 3-bolt necker. And, you know, very Richie Blackmore maple neck style. Not scalloped, though. I don't scallop the necks. But, yeah, big influence for me. Big influence. As they all are anyway. So.
Just don't ask him to pick the number one.
Bit hard. Look, in all honesty, my favourite players alternate. I think it's just what I'm listening to at the time and I'm connecting with. But I put them all fairly even and equal. Most of the ones that I adore, or the bands I adore, the musicians in those bands are, you know, it's hard to pick my favourite when you've got so many favourites. I think, you know, I wish I could pick one, you know, and go, Andrew, that's my one. But my one changes, you know. I could be listening to Richie Blackmore and I go, okay, then it's Jimmy Page, then it's Jimi Hendrix, then it's, you know, all of a sudden it's Van Halen, then it's Eric Clapton, then it's, so it's very hard to pick.
Yeah. And look, I agree with you, and I think most of us in the chat would agree with you too, bro. You know, it's what you're listening to, it's the type, you know, like it's the albums that you might be listening to. I'm like the last couple of weeks, I'm going through sets Eddie Cochran buzz, you know, listening to a lot of that stuff, you know, which is, you know, that I hadn't listened to for years. So it's how can you pick your favorite guitar player? It's I can't, bro. But
I think that's the wonderful thing about music, though, Andrew. And you know, we can all have our favorites, but the best part is that there's so much variety out there. You know, to listen to different styles of music and be influenced by so many people. That's what music's about.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. And no problem, L&M Guitar Center. No problem. No problem. These guys have some interesting polls on their community page. You guys know how we like to go through and check some channels out, and these guys take advantage of their community page. They've got some really, really cool polls going on there, and it's just, Brad, it's just one of those things that we do, you know, in social media, just to keep things chugging along, and a bit of interest, and these guys are doing it. Yeah, bro, you want to kick the Rankin off?
Yeah, well, let's do it, Andrew. Look, the wonderful thing about this album from a ranking perspective, it's only 5 songs, but it's a 47-minute, 47-minute album. But just so everyone understands, these are song selections out of a whole set. So, you know, we're just sticking with what they've given us on this album, which is live in Europe. So the album kicks off, which was always, from my understanding, their opening track for Mark III was Burn. It's got that big rock intro. There's some really exotic playing from Richie. Richie kicks in on that bridge pickup. You hear him kick back, and he starts the main riff to Burn. So that little intro, he's playing all this exotic stuff and warming up, and then he starts the riff. But just seconds before he starts that riff, Andrew, you can hear him flick back to the bridge pickup on the Strats, like click, and then you can hear it. And we're off. You know, the song's on the journey, and Coverdale's voice in this is insanely good. I can't say enough good things about David Coverdale. He's probably one of, if not my favorite, blues vocalists. I wish I could sing, you know, have a tenth of what he can do vocally. It's just amazing. He's such a woody singer. He's got so much timbre in his voice, and he sings from his chest. And you know, this album in particular, listening to it, they're a well-oiled machine at this point. They've been gigging a lot. You can tell Coverdale's voice is in fine form. And then Ian Pace on the drums. boy, is he pumped up with adrenaline, that fantastic drumming. There's these drum fills that are just like blurs, but he keeps that in between the beat, like it's what do you call it? Infectious. It doesn't stop. Glenn Hughes, he's covering all those clunky bass lines on what sounds like a Rickenbacker bass to me. It could be his jazz, I'm not sure, but to me on this song in particular, it sounds like it's a Rickenbacker bass. It's very clunky. And Glenn's backing vocals combined blend amazing with David's lead vocals. There's so much energy, high velocity in their playing. Then when Richie Blackmore, he ferociously starts that solo that we, so well from the Burn album. It's a little different. He just plays what he's feeling on the night, obviously. Certainly gives everything what he's got. And what always amazes me about Richie, it's so effortless for him to play what he's doing. If you try and emulate what he's trying to do, it's almost impossible to get the same feel, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of guitarists that Richie Blackmore's their main influence. No one plays like Richie Blackmore in my eyes. He still is fantastic. After the guitar solo, they do this sort of accenty thing, which is not on the record, which is fantastic. And I kind of wish it was on the original or on the album version of it. It's this the ding, and there's this accent thing that Ian Pace does on the drums, and then they start the riff again. So it's like they've added that little bit to the live song. And the beautiful thing about a band like Deep Purple, like Led Zeppelin and a lot of the other super groups at that period, they stretched out their songs. They might have added little bits, inflections, this and that, because you think about it, they record an album and then the song develops, and the amount of times they're playing this song, they might add something in a sound check and go, geez, I wish we had put that in the recording, but we're going to play it live anyway. So they did it. Look, after the solo, they do that, and that's, come back in. Glenn's bass is just like driving, and then all of a sudden John Lord does a solo on the Hammond organ. I've got to say, underneath John Lord's playing, you can really hear what Glenn Hughes and Richie Blackmore are doing as well. They're really following that bass on do 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 do, like Richie's playing it as well and doubling it. It sounds amazing. Ian Pace is just thumping away in the background the whole time. I could keep going on about this song, as you can probably tell. It's one of my favorite Deep Purple songs of all time, and it's such an amazing version of it. Oh, look, I give it 1 million out of 100. It's epic. It's a masterpiece. Andrew.
Again, one of the great things about being on this show, ladies and gentlemen, is that the Rock Professor and Brad totally devour the albums that we talk about, and their presentation and articulation for us is fantastic, isn't it? And I'm sure everybody appreciates that. Brad, I can't offer much. Look, that melodic intro, and Brad mentioned that in his intro, guys, ladies and gentlemen, where he was talking about Richie Blackmore playing all this kind of stuff that a lot of other people weren't doing. You get a snip of it on this intro, and then it bangs into, as Brad correctly defined, one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever. For me, the vocals, that combo vocal of Hughes and Coverdale, is just incredible. The vocals rise above the music for me. And you've got that muscular style of Coverdale, and then you've got Brad, you've got those high notes and those ridiculous screams from Hughes, and it's like, it's just, you just have to go and listen to it. And I remember in 97 or 98 when I first heard this, it's a little bit different from the live version. And it just gives you that extra spice that you want, that you crave for. And again, Brad said it at the start of his intro. You've got these live versions, and then you've got it just counterbalanced perfectly with this live album. And we're going to talk maybe a little bit about the rankings of this and the way that it was appreciated by some of the rock journalists at the time. And we don't give a damn really about what they say. The fans are ultimately the true judges of the albums and the artists, and we're part of that. So, yeah, we don't care what these hacks say. For me though, it's that vocal combo of Coverdale and Hughes. It's just, and again, I'm gonna steal Brad's illustration for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably the best version of Deep Purple. You can't. Yeah, on a good day, I'm going to say, this version would be, as much as we love Gillan, what these guys are doing, it's fantastic. If you guys, again, are familiar with, Brad can't say it. He can't say it. Only the Rock Professor and I can. It's definitely a Brad score. I'm glad they opened with this song, and Brad is correct. It is the it is the song that they opened the tour with. So they nailed that on the head. Straight away, Brad, they caught the energy by doing that. They knew that was important. And we talk about songs and where they need to be situated. And we've ranked a couple of other albums, live albums, ladies and gentlemen, where they haven't got that sequence right. But they did on this. So 10 out of 10 for that. For the song, though, Brad score, 100 out of 10. Never a skip. Defining live version of the song.
Yeah. Oh, can't agree with you more there, Andrew. I mean, even down to like Whitesnake now, there's a DVD, which, it'd be cool to do a ranking on at some point, called Live in the Still of the Night.
Oh.
And they open with Burn, and there's a fantastic, Doug Aldridge is one of my favorite guitar players as well, and he's playing on it. He does solo. He mimics Richie Blackmore to an extent, but he adds his own color on it. But the section that comes after the solo with the little that they've copped this version, it has to be 100% is what I'm getting at. So it's fantastic. So on the album, the flow, it goes into Mistreated as the second song. Richie, this has to be, in my opinion, Richie's like swan song, so to speak. It's one of his epic achievements as a guitar player. And I have to say, it's probably one of the greatest vocals from David Coverdale in the recorded version of Burn. But in this song, on this live performance, it's exactly the same. They play amazingly. And Rob, there's moments of, people saying, especially the critics at the time were knocking David Coverdale as a bit of a Robert Plant clone. But if you listen to David Coverdale singing here, there's no comparison between the two other than maybe curly hair. That's all I can really put it down to.
Lazy journalists, bro. Lazy journalists.
Exactly. So Richie starts this one off. He's playing some lovely little licks. And he's obviously got the volume on his Strat wound down quite a bit. He's playing and just warming up. Then he starts with the opening lines and flicks to the bridge pickup. You get that thumping bass drum behind him from Ian Pace, and it's instantly like I've got goosebumps. I know, every time I listen to it, I know we're in for a treat, because it's going to be a wonderful experience listening to it. And when David Coverdale comes in singing, mate, he sounds like he's a man in pain, like, had his heart broken, and he's singing the blues. I'm sure each and every single person that is over the age of probably 25 or 30, or maybe even younger these days, has had a situation where they've been mistreated, and he puts all that emotion and into the delivery of the vocal. And if you're really listening to what David Coverdale is doing here, I don't think anyone could have done a better job on this song than David Coverdale. I love the lyrics of the song. Like I said, we can all relate to this song at one point or another in our love lives. Some wonderful drumming and bass playing in this song. The song drives along all the way really well to the breakdown where Richie starts his solo. And his solo in this version evokes emotion. There's some really tasty licks, some really exotic guitar playing, especially like I feel like a broken record for the 70s. He was the most exotic sort of player around. And, he's playing blues, but there's a little bit more flavor in there than just straight blues, Andrew. I love this solo on this version of Mistreated. Obviously, as the solo kicks on, it winds up and the vocals come back. The song builds up with that double time, and the vocal harmony is doing the woo, that bit where I can't even vocalize it at the moment because my throat's not up to it, but where you've got Glenn Hughes going really high and David Coverdale keeping that woody low end there. It's wonderful. Truly is a fantastic version of the song. And, David Coverdale really cements himself as one of the greatest singers to walk the planet Earth in this song. So, again, it's 100 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip, Andrew.
Where do I start with my notes? I'm going to start on point 3. At that 9, this is 11 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, and the time flies. But you go to the 9-minute mark, 9.8 minute mark, and check out the vocals that Brad is describing. It's just remarkable. I had to make a note of that. Nice blues intro. We love that. Clearly and we're going to keep saying that these British cats grew up on skiffle and blues, and they know it, and they're always going to fly that flag, and boy, when they do it well. And then all of a sudden, that intro is transformed into this dynamic, insistent rhythm. That bass and drums, Brad, on this number, it's just phenomenal. And then they slow down, as Brad said, and they're offering, again, what the rock professor loves to remind us about, the contrast between what we can hear with our ears, and Brad will tell you too that the contrast that Brad sees and hears in colours. So this is a great example of these manifestos that my co-hosts draw out for us. Go and check this song out as a separate experiment. One thing that I like about this too, bro, and sometimes it's always great to go and listen to a live song that's faithful to the recording. It's always good to go and do. But isn't it great, though, to go and listen to a live song that you're familiar with, but they have an interpretation that's completely different, like different solos and stuff like that. And I think that's the excitement that we get, especially when you're getting a live album. How many times, bro, have you go, this is a live album, and you go home and you drop the album, or you put the cassette in, or you put the CD in, and you go, I wonder how they're going to do this on this song. And it's like, oh, wow. Oh man, that sucks. You know what I mean? It's like you just don't know what you're going to get when you get a live album. And look, this version of the guitar solo that Brad's discussed is, a standout. It's a standout. I haven't Brad scored this because I'm going to keep a couple of Brad scores up my sleeve. Certainly 10 out of 10. The contrast in this 11 minutes, and that time flies by. Wow.
Yeah. It sounds fantastic while you're driving along to this song too, I must admit. But like we were mentioning before, Andrew, the wonderful thing about a band like Deep Purple is that they would stretch out their songs. So you can imagine, in the studio, that's just the beginning for them. They record the song, and then it evolves into something even better live. So, I can't say that for bands a lot these days, but back then I think that was a really amazing thing for, like, you know, an artist like Deep Purple. They would record the album and then they would tour the album to support it, and those songs became probably what they wish they recorded, but that's not how it works back then. They used to record the album and then go out and gig. So I'm sure there might have been one or two songs here and there that evolved out of live jams at studio, you know, whether it be live in the studio or on stage. But yeah, so without waffling, without waffling too much more, mate, I think we should get into the next song.
I just want to back up your point, though. That's a valid point that Brad has raised. You know, how many times do you think these guys sit back and they go and listen to, like, for example, this album, because we were talking about this album, and Richie turns around and says to Glenn, "Shit, that sounds better than the live, than the version we did on the album, man."
And that's a, you know, from an artistic point of view, that's going to happen. I think every song will develop a little bit differently through the years of touring, and these guys toured hard. They lived the rock and roll lifestyle, but they toured hard and they played hard. So, you know, they might have sound checked the song and gone, "Hey man, what's that bit you did there? Let's work on that and fix it." Yeah. Or they might have listened back to the recordings at one point, that once the album's been pressed, and go, "I wish we had done something different there," and they work on it and they develop it. So that's the other thing too. Like you said, Andrew, you might put on a live recording from a band and you go, "How are they going to do that song live?" And then you hear it. A lot of bands had to alter the way they played the song live to make it work. Yeah, because in some aspects you can't make certain parts that you develop in a studio, and you can't reproduce that live back then. These days they use, you know, pre-recorded things, and they can do that, but back then there was no way of that. They had to just basically be pure and get out and play. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. But to hear all these songs, in, like, especially the next song, Andrew, Lady Double Dealer. Now, if you're familiar with the recorded version, then you're going to be, you know, if you've never heard this version of it on live in Europe, you're going to be shocked, because there's it's like a journey, this song, and it's not like that on the record. It's a very catchy little tune on the record, and it's a short song on the record, but it's quite a long song on this live in Europe. So obviously at the start of the track we hear John Lordy's vamping of the intro before the drums kick in, which is, you know, I love John Lord's organ playing. He's one of those most amazing organ players or keyboard players or piano player, but whatever he was playing, he was just amazing at it. Next level. Someone who was on a different way of thinking when it came to playing the instrument. Not just a piano player, not just an organ player, but more than that. There was more to him. There's so many layers of John Lord as well. So instantly, I've got goosebumps hearing John Lord vamping on the song before the song even starts. You know, as the riff starts, comes in, sounds fantastic. You know, as the song progresses, David Coverdale's vocals are stronger than ever. You know, as energized as he's singing, as energized as the music is behind him, he's pushing. I couldn't express that any clearer than that. Very catchy chorus in the song. You can't help singing along with it. Some fantastic bass playing on this song, Andrew, and Glenn Hughes. Not only is he doing fantastic bass playing, but you've got to remember he's playing vocals as well. He's singing vocals, and on this song, he's a real standout. Sends goosebumps up my arms listening to this one. Richie Blackmore, his guitar solo is explosive. He really is a fantastic player. Then we're, you know, blessed and given an amazing John Lord solo. We're highlighted with a solo from John Lord on the Hammond. And obviously as the song progresses, we hear a wonderful, what I call cock rock ending, you know, which is develops over the years, and it becomes like this thing where bands always end a certain way. And these guys were these guys were probably the innovators of these big cock rock endings, because they'd go for nearly a minute or two before the song would finish. So for me, it's 100 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip, Andrew.
Hey, Johnny Heartbreaker. Yeah, we've got a saying on the show, it's hard to go second, and it's a bummer to go third. Look, what I love about this album in particular, over listening to it over the last week or so, and we love talking about this when we get a really good example of it, was the mix. The mix, and Brad mentioned this at the intro, the fact that they were using the Stones mobile recording plant, the fact that the engineers back then knew exactly what they were doing, and to get that on this is really good. You can get everything. You can hear everything. And Brad's hit the nail on the head. You can hear Glenn Hughes playing that bass. It's remarkable. Lady Double Dealer's got that hypnotic drum pattern going on, hasn't it? It's just like, what's going on here? And then ultimately the song is constructed around the keyboards. And Brad's mentioned that, and everybody else in the chat is talking about that. Holly's saying John Lord, master Hammond player. And this is clearly his moment to shine, isn't it, Brad, on this number, because this is the last song on this side. So yeah, I don't know what to say. Other than I'm just going to check my notes. Hard driving, fast tempo, slamming rocker. My appreciation for this album grew. I had a conversation with a couple of guys early in the week saying I hadn't heard this for a while. I even had a chat with Jim Thunder Flash early on. We were talking about a couple of things, and I kind of mentioned this album. And after listening to this song on this side, it became clear to me why Deep Purple are a significant band. And I don't want to sort of take too much time, because Brad's mentioned that, these people that talk about the Coverdale plant comparisons, it's just like, what planet are you guys on? It's just, we should have a complete show on idiot comments that journalists have made over the years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. I don't. But look. Again, the Hammond and the bass playing, I can hear that in my cans. I can hear this. I can hear this rock and roll. Brad score.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew, do you think it's a good time to maybe show a few pictures so we can set a bit of a mood for everyone who is not really too familiar with this album?
Sure. So what I've done, ladies and gentlemen, Brad's flicked a few through, and I've got some. So a lot of these pics are going to be around that 75 era, not necessarily related to this gig. So that's the first one. There's a picture there of that big head-stocked Strat that Brad was talking about. And, oh, my gosh, what's behind him? Oh, Marshall amps.
Yeah.
Busy at work, isn't he?
Yeah, well, as exotic as his guitar playing was, he was a very eccentric man as well. So whether it was a put-on for, to get the mystique or what, we'll never really know the truth, but I think a lot of his personality comes out in his playing with Richie.
Yeah.
So you can see David Coverdale there. That's the gentleman singing, and Richie in the background just staring him down, making sure he's doing the right thing, as he used to do. Yeah.
And when we talk about Rainbow, there's some videos of where he just can't help himself. He even does that in Rainbow.
Yes. It's like a death stare, but it's just staring him out. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, look at that. The waistcoat on, black jeans, got the big belt buckle, sideburns, Brad. Oh,
Mm, mm, yep. There's the mighty Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, they call him, with the big woofy hair. He always had, some shiny pantsuits on or something like that. Uh, he's playing his Fender there, which he's a big Fender guy. I know he used to play Rickenbacker bass as well a little bit. So yeah, but that's a great picture of the 70s. It captivates the 70s. There's a good that's a great little, what do you call it, promotional thing.
yep.
And obviously you got Richie in the far left, you got Ian Pace in the top middle, the biggest picture, and David Coverdale to the right, Glenn Hughes underneath on the left, and John Lord underneath on the right. Very cool. Another cool picture of Glenn Hughes with the fuzzy do. He had some amazing hair back then. He's still got the amazing hair now. It's like the rock and roll keeps these guys young. Yeah.
Well,
So
the guy next to me, not the guy in the middle, but the guy next to me, that looks like D'Artagnan. He's your hair's grown a bit there too, bro. You'd be giving him a run for his money.
yeah, no, I still think he's got a little bit on me. But yeah, there's that red bass. He's had that for a long time, and he still plays that live. I'm not sure about Dead Daisies, but while he's doing Black Country Communion, he was using that bass as well. Yep. So there's a cool picture of Ian Pace in the background there doing his thing. If you're not familiar with most drumming styles, most drummers play the opposite way around, which is called right-handed drumming. So he's a lefty. So where his hi-hat is sitting is on the opposite side to where the hi-hat would be for your traditional right-handed drummer. So I think that has a little bit to do with his drumming style too, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Lefties sort of play different,
And Glenn's got the obligatory patch there
Yep.
on the front of the jeans.
Yes.
For all you keen-eyed
Yep.
rock and rollers out there.
It's a great picture, actually. That's David Coverdale. He created, in my opinion, the stance with a microphone. He sort of used to do these amazing microphone stand spins, and he still does it to this day. On his farewell tour with Whitesnake, he's still doing the same moves. Unreal. Yeah. The mighty Richie Blackmore. Not much can really be said about Richie Blackmore other than he was a what do you call it? I mean, he's standing on a Fender Stratocaster there with his left foot while he's playing another one. So that's Richie Blackmore. He's obviously on the phone to Ian Gillan, telling him he's lost his job.
I thought he was ringing to check his bank balance.
Oh, probably. That's a great photo. So you got Richie on the left, Glenn Hughes. Who have we got there? Got Glenn Hughes in the middle. Sorry. So it's my eyes are going funny. It's Richie Blackmore, David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, John Lord, then Ian Pace. That's left to right.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool pick.
Look at those shoes. Look at those platform shoes, bro. Wow. And
Hughes.
they've all got them, bro. They're all wearing them. And that is their normal streetwear that they were wearing back there in the mid-70s, brother.
Yeah. That's just what they used to wear to breakfast the next day after a gig, mate.
Wow.
out to the cafe, in their cash clothes. That was their casual dress.
So I'm just going to go down a bit of a detour. Have you ever worn any platform boots like that ever?
I've never worn platforms like that. I've worn some boots with some quite large heels on them just because they're made that way, but not platforms like that. So that's a great photo of the front line of the band. Obviously, you can see to the right of the picture, there's Ian Pace's drum kit. So you can imagine that's Ian Pace there looking out to the crowd. And, Richie's in the far left there of the picture. You got David Coverdale in the middle. You got Glenn Hughes on the bass, the third person along, and John Lord's over there somewhere on the keyboard. That's just a great photo. They look like they're just about to do an interview or something on a radio station or something. They don't look very happy. Let's put it that way. But yeah, you can see that's a cool, and that's the inside cover of the album. So you obviously got the pictures, the obligatory pictures of each band member.
Yep.
And the crowd. They're all about their fans. Yeah. And that's the outside cover. So the right part of the picture there is the front cover, and the left side of that is the back cover with the 5 songs on it. Another great picture of the whole band doing their thing. That's around 75, 76. I'm not sure what gig that is or anything like that, but that's that era of Live in Europe. Was that tour?
And notice too, and it's a point too that you and I and the Rock Professor like to talk about. Look how close they are together.
Yeah.
Look at that, bro. They're within 3-4 steps of each other.
Yeah. Well, it's this band in particular, they were heavily reliant on the drummer Ian Pace, and so he was always the backbeat, whether they were vamping or jamming or whatever. He was the one that led them there. So obviously, there's a lot of eye contact going on in that band when they were going to changes, especially with Glenn Hughes would turn around, he'd make sure he catch those changes. Not only Glenn Hughes being such an amazing vocalist was, in my opinion, a fantastic bass player, and brought a little bit of funk to the band, Andrew. A little bit of funk.
Yeah. And there he is playing that Rickenbacker, if you guys have a keen eye, that Brad mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Just a phenomenal. Brad and I have said this before. Look, there's my bass there, my fretless bass. We're all closet bass players on this show, and I reckon Brad and I, between us, we know a good bass player when we hear one, bro?
Yeah. We may be guitarists that play bass, but we know a good bass player when we hear one. That's for sure. Yeah.
So thank you, bro, for flicking some of those pics through with us,
Thank
and awesome. Everyone is having a bit of a chat there. Hugh's in the chat. Good to see you, Hugh, and Johnny Heartbreaker. Thank you guys for joining us. Brad's going to do a shout out to everybody at the end of the show. So, as the Rock Professor always likes to remind us, because he's the oldie of the show, side 2. So he's picked up. He's put he's put the bottle down. He's he's going to go to the turntable, and he's turned the turntable over, and he's playing side 2, Brad.
Yes, he's he's putting his little dressing gown back on and his slippers, and he's ready for side 2. Yeah. Well, so we've only got 2 songs on this side, Andrew, and the reason that there's only 2 is because this song in particular, You Fool No One, is a bit of an epic journey. And look, I may miss a few things here because I had to listen to it quite a few times to make my notes because there's so much going on in this version of the song. So the recorded version of the song on the album is not as stretched out as this one. So, what we were alluding to before was with Deep Purple is they stretched out songs when they went to live. Now, like other bands of the era, like Led Zeppelin, Dazed and Confused, would go for 25 minutes, and it would be a little expo on each band member, that sort of thing. Like with this song, You Fool No One, obviously this was where everyone got a little bit of a showcase, in my opinion. So the song starts off, obviously, John Lord being the king of the Hammond organ, in my opinion, with that intro before the song kicks in. He highlights some technique and dynamics and how to set a mood on the instrument. But once that drumming comes in, the song takes a real turn. And Richie comes in aggressively on the guitar. He's followed by Glenn Hughes on the bass. There's a slight element of funk in this version. The dual vocals together from Glenn and David are just fantastic on this song. Their voices work so well together. And again, a fantastic song, Blackmore, very different to what we know from the original version of the song. The solo section stretches out into a long jam, and this is where the band each member sort of gets a little bit of an expo on what they're able to do. Sounds like the band has been playing together for a very long time at this point, and they're very tight. The isolated solo sections where Richie's just playing on his own because the rest of the band stops, you can really tell it's just a Strat through a Marshall. That's the tone. You can hear it. It's obvious. There's nothing can be said. There's no effect on. There's no pedals on or nothing. It's just a loud Marshall amplifier and a Stratocaster, and some wonderful playing from Richie. The song takes a bit of a bluesy turn, also allowing some more stops and starts for Richie to express himself in a very aggressive way on the guitar. Once the song kicks back in, we have like the dual vocals that leads to a drum solo from Ian Pace, which is nothing short of amazing. Ian, he plays explosively and dynamically, brings the mood down and lifts it again. He just really shows what an amazing drummer he is. And Andrew, I can't sort of express in words what it's like to hear a drummer keep that 1, 2, 3, 4 and do drum fills through those 1, 2, 3, 4s and land exactly where they're meant to, because most drummers either lag or come in too early or whatever. But he was just he had a lot of swing in his playing, and his metronome, in other words, was his hi-hats. They were keeping him in time the whole time. So an amazing solo from Ian Pace in this song. Then we can hear Richie comes in, reminiscence of the song Lazy with his little bluesy lick, and ends the song with a classic Deep Purple style. And the vocals on this song in particular are the highlight for me, other than obviously everyone's little solo that they do. It's 10 out of 10 for me, Andrew. It's never a skip.
Wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. As Brad said, look, you want to talk epic? Holy cow, 16 minutes and 42 seconds of epicness, and it's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to echo a lot of what Brad already said. Ian Pace is a beast on this. Clearly is. It's evident that the guy is in his own category as a drummer. And I really love that solo that Richie gets mid-song and that interlude. It's a nice solo that he gets. It's fantastic. The collaboration that these guys are doing in this song clearly is something that I think that they, and we like to talk about this a little bit too. I think when bands do a lot of this kind of 16-minute epics, I've got this romantic view in my mind. I think they do this for themselves. I think they're doing this together, and they're not just doing the song off the album. They're doing this because we want to, I want to hang out with Brad for 15 minutes, in this musical universe that we've created, and that's the power that you get from this. and the fact that they've thrown all their own little pieces into the soup, it's fantastic. One little interesting thing though that I picked up when I first heard it through my headphones, is Glenn's bass on this is really, really loud. It's it's probably a notch up than the other instruments, and I just want to sort of think, because Brad's already said it. You've got the drummer setting that rhythm pattern going on here. He's got his hi-hats, but Ian's also determined with his timing by what the bass is doing as well, Brad. So that's a key for us as music fans. Some people might say it was a bad mix, but as Brad said at the intro, this is pretty much what they played. So we dig a little bit deeper, and the reason why the bass is a little bit louder there is to keep the drummer as well, to help the drummer keep on time, because as we know, if we're not keeping on time, it's going to collapse. So remarkable contribution by these musicians to make sure that we get this. I've given this a Brad score.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Andrew. Look, I think Simon just popped into the chat just very quickly then, so a bit of a shout out to the Rock Professor. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well and traveling safe, buddy. We miss you here, but we're doing our best to hold up the fort for you to come back to it. All right, so start thinking of an album too. That's all. I'll put that one out there. Start thinking of an album.
I know what the album is. He's told me, so okay. I'll tell you off here.
Good stuff. Well, we get to the very last song on the live album, Andrew, and it's Stormbringer, which is nothing short of another masterpiece from Deep Purple, in my opinion. From those massive accents at the start with the trippy keyboard sound, that pulsating riff. It truly is a masterpiece, this song. What I love about it is David Coverdale just sings effortlessly through the verses, to meet Glenn Hughes at the choruses for that fantastic dual vocal harmony thing they do. The drumming, the bass playing, the guitar playing, and the keyboards, all world class, and an amazing performance of one of my favorite Deep Purple songs. Richie Blackmore, he plays some fantastic slide in this song. Not many people really recognize Richie as a slide player, but he's fantastic in my opinion. He's very expressive with the slide. Then we're treated to a John Lord organ solo, which is not actually in the original version of the song. So it's a little stretch out section, and they've given John a bit of a chance to shine on the last song, which is nothing short of a treat. He plays fantastic. The song ends obviously with that real double time feel from Ian Pace, and we've just been given like a gift from the gods of rock. It's just something that I can't really give more than or less than say, a million out of 10. It's never a skip for me, Andrew. I don't know what else to say, but what a fantastic record.
The final track, as Brad said, Stormbringer, off the album of the same name, and we have, ladies and gentlemen, ranked that. I think that was one of the first albums we did at the beginning of the year when we came back from our break. It was, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And I'll attach all these links to these videos, or at least that playlist if you're watching on playback. Look, it's pretty much the same version that's on the album, just a little bit more rockier, isn't it? That guitar solo from Richie's good. And John Lord even gets a little bit of a break, which is always a good thing, isn't it? When we hear John Lord, when John Lord's doing, and isn't it just one of those weird, wonderful things that when you hear John Lord in a rock anthem, it's like that just that's just like the chocolate sauce on the ice cream, Brad. You know what I mean? It's like this just deserves to be there. Look, it's a good version. It's a good version of the song. I'm going to give this 9 out of 10. It's never a skip. I just think the only reason why I'm not going to give it a 10 is because selfishly I wanted them to do something else. But if you guys remember a little bit earlier, we said that bands will do something with some songs, and some other songs they'll just go and do pretty much, close to the album. I think I might even like, Brad, the recorded version better. I think I might.
Yeah, look, it's always a hard one for me. I guess I'm very passionate about the album version as well. So I don't think there's any real contest there in comparison. The album version is stellar. So it's just epic. So, but no, it's fantastic either way, like for me. But I'm glad we're on a 9 out of 10 is not a bad score, Andrew. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Thank you. I was a little bit worried there, ladies and gentlemen, because, look, it's pretty easy on this show. Most of the albums we pick, ladies and gentlemen, are great albums. So it's just by virtue of the material we're talking about, So, and I'm sure everybody in the chat will kind of agree and understand where we're coming from. We have given some 6s. We have given some 3s and 4s. And there's been a couple of skips.
There's been some, there is, really good albums out there with the odd skip on there. It's just how it is.
Yes. Yeah, and we've done that. Absolutely. The Beano album, for example, the Beano album that we love and adore. There's a couple of skips on there. Parchment Farm. Oh my Lord.
Oh. I'm not sure I've heard it more than once, Andrew. I think I've only ever heard it once.
Yeah, you probably heard it once too much.
Actually, I lie. I probably heard it a few times. When I had to rank it, I'd listened to it a few times. So yeah. I don't know.
Look, I'm gonna say it was interesting. Interesting ranking this over the last couple of weeks, because one of the reasons why, in particular, I've liked this is I've purposely kept away from any video footage, because the last couple of albums we've done, we've incorporated video footage, haven't we, into what we've been talking about, and we love that. That offers a dynamic. But ladies and gentlemen, doing that for a couple of weeks and then going back and just solely relying on these things that stick out, not these things. Brad, I don't know about you, but it kind of made me sort of like think a little bit more about what I was listening to, because I had to use my ears. So just a little observation I wanted to share with you guys. Really enjoyed that part of the experiment and the process that we've been doing.
Well, thank you for indulging me, Andrew, for doing this record, because I love it. It's a great live record.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome. I'm going to get Brad he's going to go back and say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, Brad. It's always a pleasure hanging out with Brad when the Rock Professor's not here. We were good. We behaved.
And I have to say, Andrew didn't even do the clickbait thing today, so he's on his best behavior.
Oh, I was going to save that for last. but it's been just a nice little experience for us to go back and do this as opposed to having videos in my mind. I really appreciated that. I'm going to tell Brad what the album is that we're going to be ranking next week. It's an interesting album. It's going to be a great album, and a few people might be surprised and may not have heard of this artist. So you know how we like to do that. We like to pull something that might be an interesting album for you guys, and the Rock Professor certainly has done that. Go and subscribe to Brad's YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen, and there he is here. There he is there on Instagram. Go and check him out on Instagram. Show him some love and support over there. Brad's doing a few little bits and pieces over there.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so
much.
Brad. Yes, and
no problem. Do you want to say goodbye to everybody, brother?
I will. But again, thank you everyone who watches our shows back. That's very important. I want to thank everyone in the chat as well. But thank you for everyone who watches our shows back. And if you've got to this far, thank you so much. We truly, honestly appreciate it. So in the chat tonight, we've got Gretch Zeppelin. We've got Holly Lewis. Thank you, Holly. We've got Keith Campbell. We have Johnny Heartbreaker. We have Ellen, my mother. We have everyone's having a good old chat tonight, aren't they? This is the first I've looked at the chat. So we've got we had Simon in the chat. Thank you, Simon. We have got Nelson. Nelson was in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Nelson. I'm not sure if you're still with us, but thank you. We have got I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I mentioned Keith Campbell. Thank you, brother, for joining us. And L&M Guitars. Thank you, Guitar Corner. Sorry, L&M Guitar Corner. Looks like everyone's been subscribing to L&M through the discussion here, which is fantastic. That's why we encourage everyone to go and subscribe to channels, help them grow, help them get to a point where, they start, growing. And obviously the more people subscribe, YouTube sees that and throws your channel out there as well a little bit more in the algorithms. So that's very important. If you don't understand it, just subscribe. It really helps channels. It helps them a lot, including ours. If you haven't subscribed, please do. So I'm not sure. I think I've covered just about everyone. I'm right back to the very, very start. I'm just going to make sure. Johnny Heartbreaker, I think I've mentioned you. Adam Roach, thank you, Adam. And guys, we had some rap bag called British Electric Blues Show in here. And that's about it, guys. I guessing there might have been a few more people watching than chatting with us, but thank you for joining us. Either way, we thank you as well. And stay safe, everyone. And, look after yourselves. And thank you for indulging us. Safe travels to this man here, the clickbait for the show. I was waiting.
And just to round it off, there he is there. What a handsome guy he is. Hey?
Yeah, well, we miss you on the show, Simon, so we look forward to next week. We really do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Yeah, well, I think we did a nice little hour and a half there, Andrew, and check it out, guys.
You got some pizza to eat. You got some pizza delivered, didn't you?
No. It's actually my son rocking up. He arrived.
Oh!
So rather than leave him at the front door, I thought I'd let the poor little bugger inside,
Oh, you better. You can't have him sleeping on the doormat, mate. You can get into trouble these days doing that. You and I, when we were young, we used to do that. That was just a matter of fact,
Yeah. No,
sleeping in the back doors.
No, look, he wouldn't probably accept it anyway. If you come around the back, probably bashing on the window, let me in.
All right, we're out of here.
Yep. See you, everyone.